In this episode of Global Warning, Taiwan visits China, the Royal Navy can't deploy a single ship, America's new aggressive cyber defense strategy, and German males don't want to be conscripted. Let's get started.
As we know, there are known knowns. There are things we know we know. We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there are some things we do not know. But there are also unknown unknowns. The ones we don't know, we don't know.
Global Warning with Ryan McBeth.
Welcome to Global Warning with Ryan McBeth. Here I offer a brief analysis of newsworthy events, developments, and trends that may have been lost in the shuffle of those larger events dominating the news cycle. First up, we have members of Taiwan's KMT visit China. According to a recent Reuters report, the head of Taiwan's opposition party, the KMT, and yeah, you heard that right, the head of the Kuomintang is going to visit China. And if that sounds familiar, the KMT was the party that retreated to Taiwan after losing the Chinese Civil War to the Chinese Communist Party in December of 1949. Cheng Li-wan, the head of Taiwan's KMT, will be visiting China this week for a potential meeting with the PRC's Xi Jinping. Well, I hope you brought your burner phones there, guys. Cheng argues that this is a peace mission to Beijing, given the recent and renewed pushes by Beijing to reunify the island with China. So why does this matter? According to Reuters, Cheng, who chairs the KMT, which is the largest political opposition party in Taiwan, is traveling to China as part of a larger push to bring the two countries together. In fact, Taiwan's KMT has been stalling a government plan in the Taiwanese parliament to increase defense spending by $40 billion. And this comes at a time when American senators and other U.S. government officials have been calling on Taiwan to increase their military spending. Some believe that Xi Jinping is wooing the KMT as part of an attempt to peacefully reunify the island nation. And that would be within China's strategy. After all, it was Sun Tzu who said to win without fighting is best. Historically, Taiwan has been viewed as sort of a nationalist stronghold or even a breakaway rogue province, hoping to secure its independence, an action deemed illegal by the Chinese Communist Party in Beijing. While this tactic of meeting with the KMT is brilliant, it's hard to say if the Chinese Communist Party will be successful in luring the Taiwanese to the table. In the past, some communist leaders in Beijing suggested that the two reunify under an expanded version of China's One China, Two Systems framework, because, you know, how well that worked out for Hong Kong. However, this hasn't enticed the Taiwanese enough yet. With the changing priorities for the United States and a very real fear that the U.S. could drop the ball, so to speak, I don't blame some Taiwanese politicians for thinking they can make a deal with the devil. In this case, China is the devil, not the U.S., even though America hasn't been the most reliable partner. Next, we have the Royal Navy can't deploy a single ship to Cyprus. For this second segment, I'm going to hand it over to my friend and colleague, Hillary Fordwich, who has loads of expertise in all things British politics. Hillary, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Ryan. Well, after years of cuts, the Royal Navy can't deploy naval vessels at scale anymore. In fact, they could barely deploy a single vessel in Britain's own backyard. At the start of Operation Epic Fury, not a single British warship was in the Mediterranean Sea. After scrambling to find a suitable ship, the Royal Navy deployed the Type 4 destroyer HMS Dragon to the eastern Mediterranean following an Iranian-made drone strike on the runway at RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus. That was in early March. The destroyer finally arrived on March 27th. The warship carries with Sea Viper missiles and a Wildcat helicopter with anti-drone capabilities. According to two scathing op-eds found in the Times and on the Centre for European Policy Analysis website, the Royal Navy has seen better days, and as an English-born girl, I'll say glorious better days under Admiral Nelson, etc. And that's putting it really lightly. However, like all news, we need to take this with a grain of salt and a whole bunch of nuance. While, yes, on the one hand, the Royal Navy does appear to be suffering from gaps in capabilities, this isn't entirely unknown to members of Parliament or members of the Ministry of Defence. Now, following the Second World War, the British Navy went from being an independent entity to an organisation folded into the newly formed Ministry of Defence. This meant the Royal Navy needed, like the rest of the services, to compete for funding and for prioritisation. Now, over the decades, the Royal Navy has been neglected for a variety of reasons. Following the dissolution of the Soviet Union, there were fewer peer-like threats on the global stage. The British, like actually much of NATO, were forced to cut funding for navies that really didn't possess their original Cold War purpose. Add into this push to develop land-based counterterrorism and counterinsurgency operations for the global war on terror, and you have a recipe for disaster. The decline of the Royal Navy is partly a product of hyperbole and partly a product of neglect by British policymakers and military leadership. So why does this matter? Well, while the British Navy has seen better days, as I said, glorious better days, the news covering these events has often lacked nuance. Nuances in data tell us that while, yes, the British Navy has seen better days, British policymakers and military leadership are looking to create and to really correct decades of neglect and deprioritization. So with that in mind, it really is going to take decades for this to correct itself, just as it took decades to develop and to become, most sadly, a running joke in the current news headlines, certainly this month. And on that sad, pitiful note, I'll hand the microphone back to you, Ryan.
Thank you, Hillary. Hillary Fordwich delivers sessions on how to gain and retain clients for all those in professional service firms. She combines global business development experience with international knowledge and is a regular contributor on Fox News, GB News, Sky News Australia, Newsmax, and many other U.S. networks as a British political expert. You can book her for speaking engagements at the link below in the description. Next up, we have America's new cybersecurity strategy. The United States appears to be going on a cyber offensive these days, taking down malware groups and domains linked to Iran. And a lot of this can be linked back to the March 6th release of the United States' new cyber strategy document. This strategy marks a significant departure from how America has approached cyberspace, pivoting firmly from defense to a more aggressive posture. Oddly enough, the new cyberspace security strategy is often quiet when it comes to America's adversaries, alluding to countries like China in a reference to digital technologies that carry embedded censorship, surveillance, and ideological bias. So why does this matter? This shows that the U.S. government is starting to take the cyber domain more seriously. We've just seen how effective countries like Iran and China have been in this domain, and it is about time for the U.S. government to start thinking about how to posture differently. While there are some concerns that unrestricted cyber offenses could lead to kinetic responses, fingers crossed on that one, and these are warranted, these changes in posture open up another tool in America's tool belt for countering bad actors on the world stage and in cyberspace. And finally, we have Germans protesting changes to mandatory military service. Many German males have been up in arms over changes to German military service requirements. A little notice clause in sweeping changes to Germany's military service policy has caused outrage. This new conscription law requires men between the ages of 17 and 45 to apply for permission for extended foreign trips lasting more than 3 months. So why does this matter? The Trump administration has been pushing NATO members to get their acts together on military spending and military readiness, but money can't always buy you love. Only 16% of Germans said they would definitely defend their country in case of attack. And you can spend as much money as you want on shiny new equipment, but if nobody is there to man it, you got a big problem there, bub. Germans appear to be resistant to the increased military spending, and they also appear to have serious concerns about this new change in military service. And while it seems great to say spend 5% of gross domestic product on defense, there is a need to convince your population not only to fund the scheme, but to pick up a rifle when the time comes. Thank you for listening. New episodes appear weekly at ryanmcbeth.substack.com, where you can also find the companion intelligence briefing. Sources are cited using footnotes and active links to ensure transparency and replication.